Hey folks, I hope everyone's doing really well. Today, I wanted to continue talking about Dawn of War, specifically why I think the first one was so successful and why it's still being played by people today. And honestly, it comes down to the team. The team, when we first started talking to Games Workshop, I wasn't on the team. I was still working on Homeworld 2. But the team who was talking to them, specifically Jay, was really into Warhammer, like super into Warhammer. Huge fan. Like, if you could ever imagine someone who took it seriously, it was Jay. We actually played Warhammer 40k at lunchtime before we even started talking to Games Workshop. We would go over to his place. Sometimes we'd set it up at the office on the weekends and play. So I think that passion for the IP, starting with Jay, and then also growing to all of the designers on the team. Most of the designers on the team already had a similar kind of passion for the team. For the IP. I think that really strongly contributes to the game being successful. I think it contributes in that way because that passion then oozes into everything. You got to remember the decisions or the designs, the work that's being done is on a day-to-day basis. It's not like it's one big decision and then suddenly everyone really understands everything about how to make a Warhammer game. The understanding, that just embedded knowledge that the team had because we'd all been playing Warhammer 40k or reading the books or being immersed in it for so long, that then turns into just day-to-day conversations and the choices being made, squads or mission designs or levels or art. It all becomes a lot easier because the general understanding is already there. You don't have to figure out what the IP is or teach people what the IP is. Certainly there were people on the team who weren't big, passionate gamers who didn't understand the IP as well as we did. But because the core design team understood the fantasy and the IP so well, that was then easily disseminated across the rest of the team. And we managed to just kind of figure out like, oh, okay, yeah, this needs more skulls. Or, the iconography was very easy to understand because it got translated well by the design team, because the design team just had a fundamental sort of solid understanding and respect for the IP. We all wanted to treat it with the respect that it deserved because we were such big fanatics of it that we wanted to do it service. We wanted to do it justice. On top of that, the people at Games Workshop were just phenomenal partners. The Dawn of War was a real-time strategy game, and there was a big possibility that we basically just clone a lot of the rules and rule sets and systems that were on the tabletop and put them into an RTS game. But it wouldn't have worked. A lot of those rules don't make sense when they're translated into an RTS game. Take speed, for example. The speed that a Space Marine can move is, you could translate the inches into some amount of meters per second, and then you could put that into the RTS game, and it would be correct to the tabletop, but it wouldn't be what was best for a real-time strategy game, like a fun real-time strategy game. So the general approach that we took was not to put the tabletop rules into RTS. It was to leverage the fantasy, the big picture of Warhammer, and make the best RTS game we could in that fantasy. And I think you see that playing out in other IPs, other attempts at the IP, like Space Marine. I think that's the same thing. It's not really about using the rules from the tabletop and then integrating them into a game or a shooter. It's about leveraging the fantasy of being this massive, godlike Space Marine walking around with a chainsword and slashing orcs to bits and pieces. So I think, and also the support from Games Workshop. They were always incredibly easy to work with. One of the challenges when dealing with an IP can be that IP partner, but they were so excited by what we were accomplishing, and I think that they could see the passion that we had for the IP, that they really embraced us and allowed us to do some incredible things, like making a brand new faction for Space Marines. Like that was not something that was, probably would have been able to have been done if GW didn't have high trust in someone like Jay, because Jay really already understood the IP, what a Space Marine was, and was they trusted that we would do the fantasy, the IP service, the right with respect and the right approach to it. And I think that oozes through everything in the game. So I hope that was interesting. Thanks for letting me share, and I'll see you again next time.